Hey, you clicked on my video. Appreciate it. Now be sure to like the video and subscribe to the page. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. Newsflash. The Saints need more wide receivers. There's your expert analysis from me for the day. Now, just like they need a safety for the Saints, the football fates have once again decided to tempt Saints fans with the idea that another former LSU star player and Louisiana native is on the market at the position of need. And after being burned so many times, and yet to be burned potentially by Tyrann Mathieu, there is reluctance with Jarvis Landry visiting the Saints the other day. Reluctance of hope. But here's why you need not to be reluctant if you're a Saints fan. According to Ian Rappaport, Jarvis will more than likely not make a decision until after the NFL draft on who he's going to sign with in free agency. That's a stupid business decision by Landry, but it's also a perfect business decision for the Saints. For those who have been following the draft talk this year, what is the one position that this year's draft is known for? Wide receiver. Especially in the first round, which could have a record number of wide receivers taken with teams that are in the market for a wide receiver like the Saints, which means you have to pay these wide receivers first-round dollar on a rookie contract, which means your cap room becomes just a little bit smaller, a little bit less room. And as a result, Jarvis Landry, going around asking all these teams that need a wide receiver, his asking price becomes too much after the NFL draft. Bad business decision by him if that is true. So, if that happens, it's no longer just about chasing the best deal or the highest bidder if you're Jarvis Landry. It then turns into more about chasing the best situation for Jarvis Landry. And that is where the Saints can parlay that negotiation into a home state discount, especially if they draft, and probably will, a wide receiver in round one. Maybe the Saints can pull that off. Maybe they can't with the discussions with Jarvis Landry. But as far as how Jarvis Landry on the field, just football-wise, fits with the Saints and what they need on the field, he does. And at the same time, he doesn't. The Saints need a slot wide receiver. They need another one, I should say. But at the same time, the Saints also need a speedy game-breaker receiver. Jarvis Landry is not that. He's a possession slot receiver, very similar to Michael Thomas. The statistics say they're practically the same guy. The Saints need more of a speedy wide receiver to stretch the offense out down the field, keep the offensive game balanced, especially in the passing game. All right, they don't have that right now. They have the possession guy, Michael Thomas. That's why the Saints have been projected to take Jamison Williams from Alabama in the first round. He's a game-breaker wide receiver, speedy wide receiver. He fits what they need. But the other day, there's also another guy now on the market who is a speedy wide receiver. Debo Samuel, the star wide receiver for the 49ers, he has said the other day he wants out. He wants to be traded. Now, Debo Samuel, he is arguably the best speedy game-breaker wide receiver in the NFL, not named Tyreek Hill, who's now with Miami Dolphins. Not just in talent, but in production. He is in his prime. Debo would be a guy that is exactly what the Saints need. He would also be extremely expensive, and the Saints would more than likely have to give up a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and then some. Well, the Saints just gave up picks for next season just so they could get 2 first-rounders for this year's draft because they need it at a position of need. And now you would have to be giving up even more draft picks and draft capital for a guy who you're also going to have to pay a lot. Or you can try and convince Jarvis Landry to come home and serve the people of Louisiana. But you would still, even with Jarvis Landry, have to pay a lot of money because the price for the wide receiver market right now are as high as it's ever been. You would be spending a lot more money, pre-draft or not, home state discount or not, for Jarvis Landry regardless. So I personally believe that Jarvis Landry is just using this Saints situation and visiting with the Saints to get some leverage from the Cleveland Browns, his current team, who just traded for Deshaun Watson. Oh, it's the home state team. I played at LSU. I grew up a Saints fan. They're desperate for a wide receiver. I don't know, Browns. Maybe I'll go and talk with them. That's what I think. Objectively, if I were giving advice to Jarvis Landry, not as a Saints fan, I'd tell him to stay his ass in Cleveland. Never thought I'd say that, but the situation has changed. If I were him, I would stay in Cleveland, and I think that's what he's going to end up doing anyway. But here's the thing. When it comes to building a team and building a roster, the best option is usually the boring option. You can get a speedy wide receiver at a cheaper price without losing any more draft picks by just drafting a guy at number 19 like Jameson Williams a week from now. I know everything else is flashy. I know trading for a big-name guy and sending a message out to the NFL and all that stuff, it's awesome. But it's also not the best situation. But if you draft a guy like, say, a Jameson Williams, sure, it's a risk, but it's a very good calculated risk. And, oh, by the way, that still leaves you with enough cap room and enough money to afford Tyrann Mathieu at another position of need. Assuming someone else doesn't make him a better offer, but getting Tyrann Mathieu, that would be an exciting option. This also still leaves that possibility if you just draft a wide receiver, which is the boring option, the patient option, the less flashy option. But I say none of these guys are worth it. Jarvis Landry or Debo Samuel. Based on money and draft picks, it's not worth it. You have the Saints, you have a general manager and a scouting director in Mickey Loomis and Jeff Ireland who have been better than anyone in the NFL at drafting prospects the past 5 years. Trust in them. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook in the description link below.